we like to check in. Yeah, we check in with our mind, we check in with our body, and we also check in with our spirit. Yeah. Wellness Wednesday is a reminder. It's a reminder to yourself, okay? It's a reminder to yourself to check in with yourself and to never forget that you matter and you are worthy of having a day to check in. Yeah, Wellness Wednesday. And why Wednesday? First and foremost, okay? Wednesday because Wednesdays is ruled by Mercury, okay? Human beings are celestial beings. We don't just have these lights orbiting around us, these planets orbiting around us, and it's not affecting us. It is indeed affecting us. Okay? For this reason, okay, particular days are scheduled on your calendar already. They call holidays. They schedule according to the celestial bodies. Okay? So since I'm celestially, I think that's a word, inclined, I like to share my celestial knowledge and also remind you that you are indeed an earthling, okay, harnessed in that same energy above you. Wednesday is ruled by Mercury, long story short. Yes, Wednesday is ruled by Mercury, and it is a day for us to commune. Mercury is the house of communication, so we're going to commune. We're going to commune with ourselves. We're going to commune with the world around us. Okay, we're going to even commune with our emotions. We're going to commune with our mindsets. Okay, question our beliefs if we need to. Okay, we're going to commune, right? So today, I'm communing, and we are communing with our mind, our body, and our spirit, and we're going to speak to the overthinker. Yeah, we're going to speak to the overthinker, those of us that overthink. And overthinking is nearly a normal, okay? Overthinking is nearly a normal, right? And because it's nearly a normal, we have nearly made it second nature for us to overthink. Yeah, it's become second nature for us to overthink. We live in a world, right, that has forced us to ask questions about the food. You have to ask about several questions about food, okay, alone as you go shopping. So I'm sure if you just shopping for yourself, there is some overthinking that can happen. It can creep right up on you when you start questioning, is this a GMO? Is this a GEO? And what is the difference? Right? When you start questioning, does this have pesticides on it? Where did it come from? Yep. We are forced to ask these questions, right? As we see different news articles and different things that pop up on our news feed that show us that who's ever overseeing the food industry, right? The Food and Drug Administration has indeed, indeed forsook their people, right? So as we see this, we overthink. We overthink in relationships, right? We're not just overthinking the nature of the relationships, but we overthinking how a person may respond in a relationship, how they may respond to us. We overthinking our own selves, okay? Projecting overthinking this. Okay, how many of us have thought ourselves out of a good time, out of a good evening, out of a good brunch, okay? Maybe even out of a good date, right? Overthinking is the reason why relationship statuses are the way it is today, right? Because we overthinking. We overthinking relationships, right? We overthinking partnerships. This is why businesses look the way they look as far as the arena of businesses, because we are overthinking partnerships. Oh yes, we are overthinking partnerships. We are overthinking what a person gain is. We are overthinking what we have to offer. Yeah, this is why certain people are insecure, right, about networking. Networking brings about insecurity because now you are forced to be around great people. Yeah, or you are forced to not be the greatest person in the room. This is why networking, right, and partnerships, right, are so important. But this is why we see less partnerships and more networking. Okay? Because people beginning to learn, but we need to still see the rise in partnerships, the rise in collaborative efforts. Okay? And this is rather difficult if you're dealing with a party of overthinkers. Yes, you ever try to build with people who are so creative, they're overthinking? Yeah, creatives are great overthinkers. You will overthink yourself from step to step to step to step. Yeah, I assist a lot of creators. Y'all overthink every step of the process. Y'all creators. Okay? Doesn't matter which form of creation you're into. Okay? Y'all overthinkers. And this overthinking only leads to what? Insecurity. Overthinking only leads to what? Anxiety. So when I meet overthinkers, I first know you're going through what? Insecurity. And what else? Anxiety. And what do I have the cure to? Insecurity. And what else? Anxiety. Okay? But let's begin on the fact that you're creative. And why you overthink. Because you're creating. Because you're giving so much of your spirit. You're giving something raw, something natural that only comes from one place. Okay? And not only are you giving it to the world, but you first giving it to yourself. You giving it to yourself. Everything you create is a gift to yourself. Okay? That's the power of being a creative. Okay? But a lot of times we get lost in our creative journey and we like to overthink. Overthinking can also cause you to procrastinate. Okay? We got a lot of procrastinators in the world. Okay? And that's fine. Everybody's going to have a procrastinating season or two in life. Okay? But nevertheless, overthinking. These are some things that we overthink. These are some people we overthink. But let's get down to some ways we can alleviate overthinking. Okay? Now, I started off with a few tips today. I want to leave you with one. Okay? Because I want this one to really sink in. Okay? You know, when you want something to sink, you're going to have to put some intent in it. Okay? So, nevertheless, I want us to really understand that overthinkers, okay, need a day to think. Let's just do the math. If you are overthinking, right, and you have a lot of thoughts, let's just say you're only supposed to have 3, but the overthinker has 9, okay? It'd be wise to remove 6 of them and to get back to the 3. This is just simple mathematics. To make it make even more sense, if the overthinker is overthinking, how about we match the overthinking with some thinking? I'm going to say it again. If the overthinker is thinking, how about we match some thinking with some thinking? Why do I say match it? Because why are we overthinking? We're overthinking because we don't have time. Okay? We don't have time, nor do we have space in today's reality. Okay? So more overthinkers are being created every day as they have to be rushed for an answer. Okay? We don't have time and we don't have space. Okay? So that means we must create the time and we must create the space. You're not going to have, okay, space to think when you're spending all of your space you do have, all of the time you do have, working towards whatever monetary gains you need to have for yourself, working towards your responsibilities, okay? Or maybe you even off on the next creation, or maybe you off on the next job, or maybe you chasing the next lead, okay? If you don't have space to think, you're not going to have time to think. Time and space, right, shares a significant relationship, okay? Binded they are. Nevertheless, we don't have the space, right? So, creating the space. This is where the matching the thoughts, the matching the thinking comes in play, okay? So, we're overthinking, right? Remember back to our numbers. We have 9 thoughts and we're supposed to have 3, right? It is really those 3 thoughts that have created these 9. A lot of those are replicas. I'm really thinking about the same thing, right? Just in different fashions, okay? So when I take some time out to begin thinking about, right, whatever I'm thinking about, something begins to happen there. I begin to release. I begin to release. Releasing is real, okay? But I'm not going to release something that I don't deal with mentally. This is why speaking to people helps. But all the time, you may not have a person around, okay? You must learn how to be your own person, especially if you're a leader. You must definitely learn how to be your own person, especially if you're a creative or an entrepreneur. You must definitely learn how to be your own person. You won't always have those pats on the back. Okay? You won't always have people there to be able to converse to commune with. So you're going to have to cultivate the relationship with self. Okay? Building that correspondence with clarity. Okay? By utilizing the time that I do have to think about the things that have been bothering me. I can think about those things. Okay? If it's a relationship, I can think about that. Okay? If it's the last endeavor, I may have failed. Okay? I may have not performed. Okay? To my expectancy. I can think about that. But as I think, I'm going to begin alleviating the pressure of me having to think about this and these returning thoughts on the days that I don't have the space or the time to do so. Okay? Because as I have space now, right, on my day off that I'm not going to rest, I'm going to focus on what has been bothering me. I'm also going to cultivate solutions. I'm also going to come to certain conclusions. We need to finish stories. And stories finish with good endings. I know it has become a cliche to stop stories halfway through, because when the story doesn't have a good ending, the story is halfway through, correct? The story is halfway through. We can keep telling the story, but only when someone stops at the bad moments, only when someone stops at the negative, okay, do we only receive half of the story. This is something I recommend to artists, okay, musicians, writers, singers, anybody that's putting together a project of their life, okay? This is what I recommend, that they finish the story. Sometimes, okay, they don't realize that they have not finished the story. You know you finished the story when the main character is the victor. The main character is the victor. Doesn't mean that the main character lives forever. Doesn't mean that the main character doesn't fail, doesn't lose. Okay? But the main character must learn from trials and tribulations. That's how they become triumphs. Tries become triumphs. Okay? Tries become triumphs. Okay? So, having this day off to cultivate conclusions, to cultivate solutions within yourself about whatever you're going through, and to accept certain things. Yeah, you see, a lot of times we're bouncing around those thoughts. It's because we don't want to accept certain things. So on your day off, maybe it may be sometimes, okay, that you taking your thinking day off and you're thinking, okay, that you begin bouncing. That's okay. Because now that we have space, now that we aren't rushed by the next thing to do, okay, we'll begin to accept things, and we'll begin to accept the responsibility that we have to our emotions, because you are responsible for the way you feel. You must understand, you are responsible for the way you feel. The person that hurt you is not responsible for the way you feel. The scenario that you are in is not responsible for the way you feel. There are too many connected variables, okay? And you are the only pattern in all these variables. Okay, there are too many connecting variables to place blame and responsibility on anything other than yourself. In fact, when you do this, you take power away from yourself. When you shift responsibility on someone else for you to feel better about anything, you take power away from yourself. You must find responsibility even if you don't see it. You must find it. What part did I play? Okay? What part did I play? What could I have avoided? Okay? But when I give the problem, when I give the entity, the energy, the person, the place, the thing, whatever done happened, when I give it all of the blame, when I give it all of the responsibility for me feeling better, I lose. And you know what I lose? I lose my power. Okay? You're going to need your power. You're going to need your power to accomplish all those things in your imagination, all those beautiful things, okay? And that life of abundance. So, this is the takeaway. Let's have a day off to think. A day off to think is recommended for important people, for responsible people, for leaders, creatives, okay? Responsible people, okay? For anyone that is in any management position, responsible people. Okay, even for artists, musicians, responsible people. Okay, so you won't begin walking in your overthinking mindset. You won't begin walking in insecurity. You won't begin walking in anxiety. Okay, because this is what creates anxiety and insecurity, overthinking. Okay, because when I am overthinking, I am thinking about what could have happened, what should happen, okay, what did happen, what I didn't do. This creates anxiety, okay, this creates insecurity. Insecurity is us living in the past. So imagine the creator creating, and they sit there thinking, I should have done that. Wow, why did I make that line? Why did I use that color? They are living in the past, right? And when they sit there thinking, creating, I want to finish. I can't wait till it looks this way. They see the image in their mind and they just want to see it. They just want to hold it. Okay, they just want to complete it. They begin living in the future. This creates anxiety. Okay, so we must not live, okay, on a balance beam of insecurity and anxiety. We must plant ourselves in the present. Okay, but sometimes we need to visit those places that's making us insecure. This is what those days of thinking is going to grant you. Hopefully you received, right? Hopefully this has granted you more mental riches that you can add to your mental wealth, that you can better fortify your mind, your body, and your spirit. Okay? Find meditations. I assist us with 450 different meditations, mindfulness exercises, and activities, okay, alongside mindset training and richness. Okay, you can find all those links on this page. Nevertheless, until next time, join me 9 p.m. every Wednesday for Let's Get Rich. Yeah.